Despite their toughness, they were kind men. Sam Elliott's deep, powerful, and distinct voice has defined decades, but what fans never saw behind the beard, the cowboy hats, the iconic Western swagger was a silent rage simmering for decades. Over a 60-year career, Sam has earned a great deal of respect, but there are 6 actors he can never forgive. Some did it behind his back, some did it to his face, personally or professionally, and a few for what they did to the craft. He's never named names before, but now, at 80, he's not holding back. And once you hear who's on his blacklist, you'll never see them the same way again. Kevin Costner, the cowboy Sam detested, was the one who made him walk off set and never come back. By being authentic in every role and statement, Sam Elliott built his career. He wasn't acting like a cowboy, he was one. Raised on farms, used to the dust and discipline of the Old West. What he brought to the screen felt lived in, worn, used. His eyes made you feel older. His voice had the scent of leather. And the truth is you believed him because he was real. Sam was, to put it mildly, unimpressed with Kevin Costner's take on the West. Whether it was the rough and tumble father in Yellowstone or the stoic lawman in Wyatt Earp, Sam wasn't buying it. To him, Costner was the Hollywood version of a cowboy. All perfect lines, spotless boots, and flawless lighting. It wasn't the West, it was a set. One colleague put it bluntly. He plays a rancher like it's dress up, like he's cosplaying something he doesn't truly understand. Sure, Yellowstone brought dramatic intensity, sweeping landscapes, and Costner's gravel voice charm. Some viewers couldn't get enough of it. But Sam, he just rolled his eyes. What he saw wasn't the West he knew. It was a glossy dream for people who'd never smelled cattle at dawn or buried a fence post by hand. To him, it was a filtered, postcard version of reality, soft around the edges. Sources say even a small role was offered to him on the show. He flat out refused, called it, quote, a soap opera with a cowboy hat. But that rejection wasn't just about the script. It was quiet but unmistakable, a protest against the very idea of Yellowstone. To Sam, Westerns weren't just stories. They were lessons about toughness, discipline, and the kind of silent grit that spoke louder than words. In his eyes, Costner brought the shine, but none of the soul. Even when they shared the same room, the tension was electric. One director said, the icy air between them could freeze a desert. No shouting, just cold, quiet loathing. And that feud, it was only the beginning, because next came Benedict Cumberbatch. Too British for the West, Sam thought. In 2021, he shocked friends and colleagues alike with his brutal take on the power of the dog. No polite phrasing, no sugar-coated critique, just the kind of honesty that slices clean and leaves a scar. He spoke bluntly, honestly, incisively. His words hit like a stray gunshot in a silent club, loud, abrupt, impossible to ignore. But Sam's reaction wasn't just about the film's pacing or its artistic choices. This was personal. He didn't just dislike the power of the dog. He singled out its star, Benedict Cumberbatch. He mocked the posture, scoffed at the accent, and dismissed what he called a prissy portrayal of a Western rancher. On a podcast, he laughed and asked, "What the hell does this Brit know about the American West?" You could hear the shock. You could hear the fury in his voice. The backlash came hard and fast. Critics, fans, and defenders of Cumberbatch rallied behind the film's modern take on masculinity. Social media caught fire. To some, Sam was out of touch, a relic clinging to a past he once shaped. They called him a gatekeeper, someone who refused to let the genre evolve, who couldn't stand new voices or new ideas. But Sam, he didn't flinch. No apologies, no clarifications. He stayed planted in that chair, and he made it clear. The power of the dog wasn't just off the mark, it was disrespectful. To Sam, it distorted the very tradition it claimed to honor, romanticized broken men, missed the essence of what a Western truly stood for. Because to him, the genre isn't about polish or psychological deconstruction. It's about quiet power, hard-earned wisdom, a code. Insiders say Cumberbatch was deeply offended, but publicly, he stayed silent. Studio heads debated. Should they speak out? Should they defend him? Or should they just let it pass? In the end, Cumberbatch chose restraint. But Sam, he stood by his words. Like a gunman already 10 feet out and firing, he didn't look back. To him, the West wasn't a costume. It wasn't a filter. It was a way of life. And as long as he was breathing, no one, no matter how famous, was going to rewrite it. And if that shook some people, just wait. Because next, he went after Ashton Kutcher. To Sam Elliott, acting is sacred. It's not for tech moguls, fame chasers, or celebrities dabbling for clout. It's not a popularity contest. It's a craft, forged through work, honed with pain, rooted in truth. Every component, in his opinion, had to originate from a genuine, honest, and earned source. Sam was therefore irritated rather than impressed when Ashton Kutcher rose to fame following that '70s show with a series of light comedies and ostentatious Silicon Valley initiatives. Elliot was severely upset by it and began to doubt everything he believed in. When they were chosen to appear together in the Netflix series The Ranch, Sam remained silent. He did the job, understood his lines, and arrived on time. After all, he made a living doing this. However, the fissures began to appear early on behind the scenes. Crew members said that even when they weren't speaking, they could sense the tension. Sam allegedly shook his head and yelled at coworkers when he had some alone time. Someone overheard him remark, "He's a good guy but not a real actor." Sam disliked Ashton's method, but he didn't mind his attitude. Elliot viewed Kutcher as a representation of a new Hollywood, where followership counts were more significant than resumes. Algorithms were valued above authenticity, and charm and mimicry were valued above soul and discipline. Sam believed this to be weathering rather than evolution. The sacred art of storytelling was being undermined by slick branding, shortcuts, and superficiality. Sam knew the truth, but the show's viewers saw chemistry. None of that applied. Nothing else. In his excellent speeches, Kutcher referred to Sam as a legend and commended him as a mentor. Sam was considerably less pleasant when they weren't together, though. According to reports, he commented to a pal, "He's acting like a guy who saw acting on YouTube. Because of the regulations, not because I'm angry." Sam was defending a dying code that required individuals to be present, be still, and speak the truth, so he wasn't angry. He saw a society where traditions were being exploited to generate revenue, and stories were being made into entertainment, and he didn't like it. The ranch functioned well for fans, but there was no camaraderie or family behind the scenes. They simply got along. Sam was taken aback by the following name, Nicolas Cage. It was weird and very loud. Sam Elliott is all about subtlety. The acts that build up instead of shouting are his favorites. One syllable was spoken, just long enough to pierce deeply, followed by a heavy silence and a raised eyebrow. He believed that acting was all about restraint, not noise, the quiet, straightforward kind of acting that attracts attention without requesting it. Sam therefore perceived anarchy rather than genius when Nicolas Cage's peculiar, high-octane style, flailing arms, bugged eyes, and abrupt outbursts took off. He perceived Cage as putting on a display, a one-man show that dominated every frame and sapped the scene's vitality, rather than projecting a character. Sam avoided them on sight, even while they were co-starring in Ghost Rider. Although he was kind, courteous, and amiable, they weren't remotely close. In subsequent interviews, Sam was quite critical, but never named anybody. He discussed artists who let their egos take over the screen and turned every scene into a drama. Sam is reported to have told a close buddy, "Big bang, no heat." Sam committed to a slower, more steady technique, whereas Cage developed a cult following for being erratic and full of energy. He advocated underplaying and allowing the audience to lean in rather than turn away. Sam believed that Cage exemplified a concerning shift in contemporary filmmaking, a preference for shock over plot, and an appreciation of anarchy in and of itself. He believed that style was more important than content, playing as entertainment, not as art. Sam didn't believe it for a second, despite the fact that Cage had won some accolades and given performances that critics described as magnificently deranged. He believed that a prize could not make up for a lackluster performance. According to Elliott's book, true acting was about going within, about truth, silence, and humanity, all of which he believed Cage had long since given up on. It wasn't about going viral. The name of Jeff Bridges, whom Sam formerly considered a friend but no longer does, was the most startling and painful. In the past, Sam and Jeff Bridges were similar in that they were honest, raw, and quietly lovely. Their power came from simply being there, from that rare, captivating stillness that very few actors ever perfect, and they didn't need dramatic breaks or lengthy speeches to steal the show. Without raising their voices, these men spoke for ages. Both of them appeared in the cult classic The Big Lebowski, which went on to become a significant figure in popular culture. On screen, they resembled two sides of a single coin and were magnetic. Off-screen, they appeared to have a genuine friendship, built on mutual respect and trust as they laughed and chatted for a while. However, something broke somewhere in the process. There was no great explosion, it was quiet and gradual, and neither of them spoke. After Bridges won his Oscar for Crazy Heart, Sam reportedly sensed a shift. Once modest and quietly endearing, the man began to walk the red carpet with political signs on his chest, go on upscale press junkets, and appear in high-end fashion magazines. According to someone close to Elliot, he became more controlled and less grounded, making him more difficult to reach. Sam believed that Jeff's distinctive honesty had been supplanted by Hollywood glitz, the simplicity they originally vowed to uphold, and their common philosophy in letting the work speak for itself appeared to crumble under the pressure of celebrity. In a rare interview, Sam responded to a question about past co-workers with the ambiguous but unambiguous statement, "Some people change, and others just show who they always were." Many believed it was aimed directly at Bridges. There was complete silence after that, and Jeff never responded because he is a composed and courteous person. They stopped supporting each other's work financially and attending the same film festivals. On the big screen, they were no longer brothers. Sam's suffering was due to something far more intimate, the deterioration of a relationship he believed would never end. It had nothing to do with politics, ego, or rivalry, a connection founded on value rather than celebrity. When it broke down, Sam was left with a silent hurt that he hardly ever discussed. According to people close to him, he felt abandoned, not because he had been betrayed, but rather as a result of drift, time, and the gradual realization that the man he had stood next to was now somewhere else. What followed was even worse than the pain of losing a brother. Sam didn't anticipate having to deal with the last name, Jared Leto, the star who has gone insane. What is the biggest irritant for Sam Elliott? Refusing. No, neither commitment nor confidence. Art becomes performance art for the actor's ego rather than the audience's, due to the excessive look-at-me self-seriousness. When Jared Leto gained fame for his severe method acting, which included sending rats to fellow actors, remaining in character for weeks at a time, and transforming movie sets into mental obstacle courses, Sam didn't think it was clever. A gimmick just caught his eye. He didn't care about the Oscar or the news. The show didn't appeal to him. Theatrics masquerading as talent, as Sam once described it, was what it was. He allegedly privately told a buddy, maybe he's in the wrong profession if he needs that much effort to act. Elliot thought that press tours and spooky backstage tales weren't necessary for excellent performance. Rather, it meant quietly, professionally, and dignifiedly disappearing into the role. The procedure was not intended to resemble a fair. It was about giving the figure life. Although Sam and Leto never collaborated on a set, there are rumors that Sam was once connected to a film when it was being produced. He enjoyed both the director and the story. He then learned of Jared Leto's casting. He took a step. There was a quiet but firm departure, no phone call, no press notice. The line extended that far. Acting shouldn't be like a performance, according to Sam. However, it must be genuine and truthful. People should be moved by the work rather than shocked by it. Furthermore, the final name demonstrated how far the art form had evolved from its origins. At 80, Sam Elliott is searching for the truth rather than bits. And some of that reality? No matter how well known they are, they don't deserve the stage. Sam believes that acting is about being truthful, being cautious, and adhering to tradition. If that means standing by himself, he has no problem with it. Because in a noisy town, Sam Elliott is the lone authentic cowboy. Which of these bouts surprised you the most? It's your time now, and did you believe Sam was being tough or fair? Please share your thoughts in the comments section, and remember to like and subscribe for more Hollywood-related content.